Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the Charlotte Ade channel. I basically help individuals fulfill their potentials. As mentioned in my last intro video, we're basically going through a series of videos talking through ways we can get you to your dream job. And today's video will specifically be focusing on CVs. And CVs because it's really your entrance into introducing yourself. And in this video, I'm going to focus on two parts. So the first part is really your mindset around CVs, and then the second one is really addressing the skill sets of the videos itself. And the reason why I'm dealing with mindsets first is because I find that with a lot of applicants, that's really the beginning point and what really draws them back, especially in terms of making an impact in that CV. Now, I'll be speaking from a recruiter's point of view, so hopefully these tips will be able to help you. Now, I also want to mention that I'm not sponsored in any way for this video, so I'm going to be mentioning some tools, some tips, and I'm not sponsored in any way by any of these tools. This is really just to help you. Okay, fantastic. I have some notes here to help me. And I'll just start off by the first part of the video, which is the mindset. And I'll say that the first step in terms of your mindset shift is thinking about your CV as a personal brand. When I see many CVs, and trust me, in my lifetime, I've seen many. I see many CVs and they just come across as bland. I don't see the individual. I can't see much about their impact, what they've been able to do through their journey on that CV. So it's just listing out different duties that they've done, let's put it that way. But it doesn't really show me much about how they've made a difference, how they've solved a problem, how they've been able to make an impact in that organization or in that project or in that role. That's the first mindset shift, is being able to see yourself as a brand and seeing your CV as the first introduction to yourself as that brand. Now, the second tip that I'm going to, talk about in terms of your mindset is then thinking like a recruiter. So if you put yourself in the shoes of a recruiter and you were recruiting for an organization or for a role or for your own company, what would you like to see in that CV? What would you like to, what are the points that you'd like to draw from an individual or from a CV? You also have to bear in mind that a recruiter sees thousands of CVs every day. And then according to Indeed, a recruiter spends on average 7 seconds looking at your CV before deciding if you're right for the role or not. So that being said, I don't, typically agree, but the game is the game. I would spend typically longer on a CV, but the game is the game. So if we're playing to the game, you have to understand that there are thousands of CVs a recruiter is looking at every day. On average, you're spending literally about 7 seconds. And that's a very short time to make a judgment call on an individual. So that's the mindset I'm trying to put you in when you're building your CV. So you have to think about it. If I'm a recruiter, I really need to stand out. I really need to make an impact in terms of how they see me. So that's the first part we've addressed, which is the mindset shift. I can't say mindset today for whatever reason, but the devil is a liar. The first one is seeing yourself as a personal brand. And then the second point is, thinking about yourself as a recruiter and putting yourself in their shoes with the fact that you do need to make an impact in a very short time. Fantastic. So the second part of this video now is focusing on the CV itself. And firstly, I want to talk about your templates and the templates of CVs. I know now, we're all fresh. It's now the Gen Z era. We have so many types of CVs and, prototypes, and TikTok will tell you do this, do that. But can I be honest with you? As a recruiter, recruiters would prefer to see a very simple format. That's the truth. A CV that is straight to the point, that is simple, that has a very clean format. If you want to start putting graphics, your picture, putting bar charts, we have 7 seconds, bro. So we need to get straight to the point. So the format is, we have to keep it simple. And in terms of format, I would say have your name, your email, and your phone number at the very top of your CV, and maybe your LinkedIn profile if you want to, but quite frankly, we can always just check directly. You don't need the link on your CV. If you're in a creative or you're in the tech industry, I would say put a link to your portfolio just under your name. And obviously highlight it that this is your portfolio, and then your phone number, and then your email. The next will then be your personal experience. And then you can put all the experiences you've had with the dates, highlight it there, the location. In some cases, I would advise keeping the location. In some cases, I would say don't. But yeah, put your personal experience next, followed by education, any professional certifications you have, any skill sets and language, which is very key right now, in the global landscape. Everyone is looking for people who can speak different languages. So I'll say put that there. So that's the first part. Now, the second piece is the language of your CV. And this is where I would say there's a lot of emphasis and where a lot of people lack in terms of, building out their CVs. This is where I see a lot of mistakes, which is the language that is used. A lot of people still outline their duties. And we used to write CVs like that 20 years ago, but not now, especially when we have only 7 seconds to make a decision. I want to be able to see what you have accomplished in each organization or each project that you've worked in. What did you do? What was your role? What was the impact? That's what I'm trying to see. So I would say that the language is very, very important. And you need to use quantifiable results and action verbs in your language when you're actually writing out what you did. And I'll provide 2 examples, and they're very different. The first one is for a role that is more quantitative. So, you have trackable KPIs, and I'll use a customer service role, for instance. A duty language on a CV would look like, I helped improve customer service or helped improve customer satisfaction. That's a duty language, which you did. Most customer service representatives would do that anyway. So it's not quite unique to you and what you did. But if I changed the language to a result-focused language, it would be implemented a feedback system which boosted customer satisfaction scores by 15%. Usually in a customer service role, you'll be tracking your KPIs in terms of, customer satisfaction, customer feedback. And in a role like that, you should know where the customer satisfaction result is when you start your role and, the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. So you're able to give, quantifiable results in your CV like this. And if you're able to draw out a result-focused language like this, it shows the recruiter, 1, you're mindful of your performance, 2, you're self-aware, 3, you produce results, and that is really what we're looking for. So now you tell me, Charlotte, my role is not, we don't have KPIs in my organization, my role is not a quant-heavy role in terms of results. Fine, let's use another example. My second example is an editorial assistant role, which is more qualitative. You can't really, it's hard to track, even though you can correct me if I'm wrong. It's hard to track the impact when it comes to editing books, for instance. So how do I turn this into a results-driven language? Let's use this example. So a duty language would look like proofread 10 books in a year, which you've done. Maybe that's a fantastic thing in your team and in your organization. We can clap for you. Again, if you are a recruiter and you're looking at a CV that says proofread 10 books a year, does it really tell you much about that candidate? No. So again, we're working with the mindset that you are the recruiter too. If we changed that language to a result-focused language, it would be probably enhance the clarity and coherence of technical reports through meticulous proofreading and editing for 10 books in 2024. That's completely different. That shows someone who is results driven, and it shows how you actually went about doing it. It wasn't just proofreading. So it tells you more about a candidate. Again, we're recruiters today, so we all have to work with the same mindset, right? So I'm hoping that with those two examples that you've been able to see that your language matters in your CV, and is really where a lot of people make a lot of mistakes. The next point is also something that's very important, which is customizing your CV to the role. Sometimes I can't believe that we're in 2025 and we have one CV for all the roles you're applying to. Again, you are a recruiter today. As we're going through this process together, I want you to put yourself in our shoes. You almost notice a blanket CV when you see one, and you know a CV that was intentionally built for a role that was designed for your organization. There's a clear difference most times. And I know it's very annoying because, you tell me, Charlotte, oh, so how many applications will I now do in a day? The truth is, quality is better than quantity in terms of your applications. I would rather you actually take your time, work with 3 applications a day. If you're really in the heat of it and you're looking for a job, you take your time, work on 3 applications a day where you can actually sit down and customize your CV to that role that you're applying for. Again, quality is better than quantity. And this is where you take your CV, look at the job description and what they're looking for, the skills that they're looking for. You have to ensure especially your first 2 experiences that you've highlighted in your CV has captured most, if not all, of the things highlighted on that job description. Now, I'm not saying completely, transform your CV to that role. No. By reading the job description, you'll be able to highlight what key things the team is looking for, technical skills or skill sets or competencies they're looking for. Ensure that is captured in your CV, especially, again, first 2 professional experiences you've highlighted. That way, when the recruiter has just 7 seconds to skim through your CV, at first glance, usually a recruiter will come back and review your CV again. What the team is looking for is already found in your CV. Again, I'm not asking you to completely transform your CV. It's just for you to show that what they're looking for can be seen on your CV. And I'm not saying you should lie either. So if you find a job description and some of the things you haven't done, please don't put it on your CV. Pick the things that you've done and ensure that it's captured in your CV using the language we initially discussed in the second point. So that way it ensures that the essential skills are captured. Also, a tip as a recruiter, a lot of recruiters use an applicant tracking system. That system is what we use in the back end to filter your CVs, to progress you and manage the recruitment process end to end. So that's where we see your CVs. I'm not saying all, a lot of recruiters do use AI or have some filters that they use to shortlist candidates, when their CVs come in. And through those filters, they actually build out certain words and certain skill sets that filter out candidates that don't have it. So already, if your CV doesn't have those competencies, you're not even being seen by the recruiter. The applicant tracking system basically filters you out. So that's why it is important for you to actually take out time to customize your CV to a role. Now, the next point is AI. Let's talk about AI. There are many arguments for and against. Many people tell me, Charlotte, I use my AI to do the CV. Even with AI, I use the AI to transform my CV. I put the job description, I put my CV, and yet I still didn't get the role. Let's calm down. Everybody's using AI. Some recruiters use AI in the back end with the applicant tracking system. We all know candidates who are using AI. For me, I would say it's okay to use it. It's how you're using it. There are many times that candidates, your CVs come through in the back end and the language is so obvious that a robot wrote this. And that's why we're not getting through. Because at the end of the day, we're looking for people with integrity, right? And if you were a recruiter, again, we've changed your mindset today. You're a recruiter today. If you're a recruiter and you're looking at a CV that just feels so stiff, robotic, would you actually take a candidate? Would you look at it? At the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? So you want to see that human nature in your CV. So as a recruiter that you are today, how would you wisely use AI? Is not, you can use it, like I said, it's just how you're using it. So if you do use it, you put your job description and your CV in, ChatGPT, transform and make me a new CV for this role. Please, let's be wise. Take those points, let's rephrase and reframe it and make it more human before you submit your CV. So that's the point that I'll say regarding AI. Lastly, I would say it's very important for us to get feedback. And I've also been a candidate before. I know that CVs are quite personal. You sometimes feel like you're exposing yourself by sharing your CV. But if you feel courageous enough, share your CV. Even I, as a recruiter, I share my CV with my friends and I tell them, please give me feedback. A lot of times, even grammatical errors are in my CVs and they help me highlight it. Even though I've looked at that CV over and over and over and over and over again, getting feedback is very useful. If you look across your network, if you know anyone who is a hiring manager or who has gone through recruitment process in the organization where they've interviewed people and they have the opportunity to see different types of CVs, those are people you should target so that they can give you feedback as well. Or if you have any HR, professionals in your network as well, reach out to them, get feedback, have that courage to reach out and be like, you know what, I'm ready to get my CV to the next level. This isn't getting results for me. What can we do? It can be painstaking getting it there, but trust me, it's worth it. If you're shy, like me, if you're shy and you're not ready to expose yourself like that to your network, that's fine. I would say look out for people who do this professionally in terms of CV writing, CV transformation. I'll say there's a lot out there, but just be wise, just be careful, and make sure that they have a track record of excellence in terms of at least CVs that get through to the interview stage. So that's what I'll say regarding finding, service providers that do CV writing. And your provider shouldn't completely take your CV from like what it is and then just turn it into something that a robot wrote, because a lot of CV writers also are now lazy. So it's very important that you are very careful about who you use, to write your CV for you. Fantastic. So I hope that today you've been able to understand a few things from the point of view of a recruiter. One is your mindset, seeing yourself as a brand. Two, being able to also think like a recruiter. It's important to think like a recruiter and think about how you are going to make an impact. And regarding the skills, we've talked about format, we've talked about language, moving from a duty language to a result-oriented language. We've talked about customizing your CV from the job description to your CV. We've talked about AI and we've talked about review and feedback. So overall, I'll remind you not to be shy and be ashamed. In some cases, candidates are giving feedback that their CVs are actually good. And if you are in that bucket where your CV is actually good, you've gotten feedback that your CV is good, then I just want to take out some time to talk to you guys, in particular this section in this video. Now, I want you to know not to take every application personally. I know it's very hard. I know the job market is very rough. Trust me, I know. But it's important not to take every application personally, because there are many things that go on in the back end behind a job and a role, and why a CV is selected and why a CV is not selected. And remember as well, we're all humans, and there are human beings that are in this organization. There are human beings that are also recruiters, that are also behind the screens, that have, certain biases, for instance. And it couldn't, sometimes it's not even about bias, but a lot of things are also going on in the organization. So I would say, if you've gotten feedback from recruiters, for instance, that have said, your CV is great, it's just not what we're looking for at this moment, I'll say be patient with yourself, keep getting feedback and seeing where you can refine, but also just understand that your opportunity will come. So that's what I wanted to use this segment to just say for those who actually have gotten feedback about their CVs, that their CVs are good. It would come, be patient with yourself. And then lastly, if you have gotten to the end of this video, I just want to say a huge thank you. Thank you for watching this video with me. Thank you for supporting me. I mentioned in my intro video that I'm very shy when it comes to videos. Can you imagine? Recruiters are also shy. I'm also very shy when it comes to videos. The thing is, if you put me in front of the screen with, to record myself for nobody to watch, I'm fine. If you put me in front of any interview or any organization, I'm happy to talk about myself, happy to talk about my skills. But in front of a camera, knowing that it's going on social media, different ballgame. So I just want to say a huge thank you, and it means a lot to me that you have watched this video. So please like, subscribe, share with your friends, share with anyone who is going through this process, and maybe you have them in mind. And sometimes it can be quite hard watching a loved one go through this job hunting process. So just send my links to them, and I'm going to be their recruiter sister through this journey in the next 8 weeks. So leave any comments that you have if you enjoyed the video, or if you have any questions. I would also leave my details in the description box if you want to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to always speak to candidates and expand my network as well. So I hope you have a lovely weekend, and see you next week. Thank you.